2D platformer fans rejoice! There is yet another answer to the supposedly dead Mega Man series, and its name is Azure Striker Gunvolt! Guys, it was really hard not to make a John Cena joke there. That aside, this game deserves a bit more light in the sunshine, so I thought, hey, I still need to review something, so why not start small and see if I can recommend it to you guys. Azure Striker Gunvolt was a 3DS eShop game developed by Inti Creates. They were the same people who made the Mega Man 0 games, the ZX games, and even the more recent Mega Man 9, so I think that this game's in good hands. The game kinda came up in the middle of the Mighty No. 9 hype, but that still didn't stop them from pushing the game, as you could even get a free spin-off game, Mighty Gunvolt. Too bad I didn't get the game that early. The thought still kinda hurts me. When the game released, it was fairly positive. Nothing too major, with mostly 8s across the board, with a few exceptions. Of course, most of us got the game due to the similarities with Mega Man, with myself being no exception. Although these are similar in terms of the scope and some traditions, these are two completely different beasts. Heck, it could be looked at as more of a Mega Man X game with a deeper story, but even then, the gameplay contrasts so much that not even that's a fair comparison. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Is this game worthy of being given the title Great 2D Platformer as the majority of Mega Man games tend to get? That's what I'm here to answer in my review of Azure Striker Gunvolt. So let's just see how deep this story really is, shall we? The story takes place, take a guess, in the future. This development team hasn't changed at all. The world now has people known as adepts who pretty much have superpowers of different sorts. The world is at peace due to the Sumeragi organization, but in actuality, they're experimenting on adepts, and that's just mean. The opposite organization, Quill, is tasked with exposing Sumeragi and freeing the world from their evil ways. Protagonist, Gunvolt, takes part with Quill and starts the game with being tasked to freaking assassinate Lumen, who is an adept that can control any adepts by singing. This is considered a threat to Quill. However, instead of killing her, he sees that in reality she's just a girl and can't bring himself to do it. He ends up becoming defective to Quill and starts on his own protecting Joel, the girl whose adept is Lumen, in his new apartment, with him doing little jobs for Quill to pay for the bills. That rhyme was an accident, I swear. The jobs include defeating various commanders of Sumeragi, so in the end he's still doing their dirty work anyways and still getting money, so it's like nothing's changed. It's weird. Of course, the story does get more complicated the further you go, with more characters being introduced, but when it's all said and done, the story is pretty simple. However, near the end, when the stakes are high and it gets a lot darker, I found myself rather enjoying it and being shocked by how they dropped the ball. It does try to take itself a bit too seriously at times, but when it's all said and done, the story was honestly pretty dang good. This team was developed by the ones who made the more story-heavy Mega Man games, so it's good to see that they've still got it in terms of telling a good story. What really made the story for me were the characters. Gunvolt is a great protagonist who has a lot of personality and is pretty bad as Hog. Then there's the adorable Joel who you can't help but love, the hilarious Lumen who doesn't get nearly the amount of spotlight she deserves, and even your Quill associates are pretty cool. But let's be honest, the ones who stole the spotlight are the villains. Each villain has a unique personality and are so dang unique. The dialogue before you fight each one of them have so much emotion and personality, making this game so charming with its characters. I don't think any Mega Man game has had the same amount of variety in terms of its villains. This took me completely off guard, but I'll take it. They don't take themselves too seriously, but when they try to get involved in the darker plot, it works, which is the same for the story as a whole. That's not easy to do and makes me admire the characters even more. The story is simple, but the characters made it a lot more enjoyable than you can imagine. Now let's talk about those graphics. They're really good. The sprite work is very detailed and animates extremely smoothly. Of course, being a 3DS, you should expect this sort of thing. Character models and enemies alike all have graceful animation, and I never noticed any lag whatsoever. It shows just how much love and care was put into how this game would look. The backgrounds don't slack either, with each level looking different and having their own feel to them. And of course, being that a majority of the gameplay centers around lightning, the effects of that look incredible. But I'm not shocked in the slightest due to how everything else looks already. The game does have a bit of voice acting in terms of grunts, but they're all in Japanese. I think you all know what I think of that. I do wish that the cutscenes were voiced, and there was supposed to be an English dub, but that got cancelled, which is a shame. While we're on the subject of sound, this game's soundtrack gets the job done well. It goes for a more techno-pop soundtrack, which was enjoyable and gets you excited for each level. There were quite a few memorable songs, and they were a joy to listen to. And how can I not mention the J-pop songs? I'll explain how you get to hear these later on, but man, it helps empower the moment and makes you feel like a boss. Not to mention they're ridiculously catchy and I listen to them on my own time. The regular songs are good, don't get me wrong, but Lumen's songs just dump on everything else because they're just that good. Story and presentation are great, but let's be real, this is a platformer. Nothing really matters at all except for the way the game feels and plays for this type of game. Not to say that the other two categories won't have any impact, it's just that this is what a lot of people look for with this genre. But I'm getting off topic. The levels are organized by a stage select screen having an intro stage, 6 stages you can choose to do in any order, a midway stage after being 3 stages, and 4 final stages. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Level design wise, it continues to show the creativity of the game developers. Each level is different not only from an aesthetic standpoint, but in terms to their layouts as well. You could be climbing, diving, and even walking upside down, because why not? Enemies are never placed in cheap areas with the exception of getting blindsided by those red robots, and with great controls, again, every death is your fault. Levels are designed to be difficult, but I never see them as cheap. Not to mention that you have infinite lives, so if you fail at a challenge, it's easy to get right back at it and learn from your mistakes. If there is one complaint I have with these levels, however, it's that there aren't any alternate paths or secret areas. I'm not against linear level design by any means, especially in a shooting 2D platformer, but it gets pretty lame seeing as there are no secret areas whatsoever, so that really decreases in terms of replayability. Take that as you will. But again, what's a good platformer without good control? It's great that these stages are well designed, but if you can't play through them, then what's the point, right? Well, rejoice, because Gunvolt controls like a dream. He responds lightning fast, which really surprised me being that Inti Creates hasn't made a Mega Man game in quite some time. I'm happy to say that they've still got it, and you know what? It actually controls a lot better than the Mega Man games. Everything's faster, the dash is more effective, wall jumping on one wall still feels awesome, and the whole time you feel like a total badass hog. However, this is where the game starts to make its own identity. Gunvolt doesn't hurt grunts just by shooting them, unless you get that bonus weapon. Instead, his missiles tag the enemies to a max of 3 times. Then, depending on what system you play on, you hold another button to zap your enemies to their doom. The more times you tag an enemy, the more damage your electricity will do. But you can't abuse this being that you have an energy bar for lightning, and when it runs out, you'll have to wait a few seconds before using lightning again. While you aren't attacking, this will refill on its own very quickly, and you can instantly refill it on your own by double tapping down. You also have a bar at the bottom of the screen that's used for Gunvolt's special attacks that you can get later in the game, or for certain skills like healing yourself. This is a very fun gameplay style and it all controls so well. Every action I wanted to do was immediately executed, which in turn made every obstacle completely fair. Everything has a pattern and every single death was my fault because of how beastly the controls are. It's pretty dang incredible. If you do meet your untimely end, don't worry, for there are a ton of checkpoints in each stage. Also, if you get lucky, you might get Luma to use reincarnation, where you'll be revived, stronger, have infinite energy for your lightning attacks and skills, and awesome J-pop starts to play. It's random though, so you never know when it's gonna activate, which is kind of disappointing. Those who want a challenge and don't want to be handicapped shouldn't be forced to use this, and those who want the extra help have to suffer when they don't get it. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to use this at all, as I want to use my own skills to beat the challenges the game provides me, but it's there for those who need the boost, which I'm totally not judging you on, except I am making me look like a jerk, so let's move on. Another way to get the catchy as crap J-pop is through the kudos system. Basically, when you defeat an enemy one after another, you'll get added score and a multiplier combo if you haven't gotten hit. Keep this up, and once your score passes 1000, you'll be blessed with some J-pop to make you feel awesome. It's a pretty nice detail for those skilled players going for a higher combo and motivates you to no end. You know, except for when you get hit. Dang it. Continuing on with how this game surprises me, there is a lot of customization to this game. You can change your equipment as you get it through the game, weapons with different abilities, and skills that you can use in your stages. You can change your equipment and weapons even when you're in the stages, but strangely, you can't swap out different skills, which really got annoying when your abilities as a gamer demand different skills at different times. The skills themselves are really cool though, but some felt like they should have been permanent upgrades to Gunvolt. Why is double jumping a skill? If there's gonna be leveling up involved, you might as well learn new stuff permanently instead of getting stronger in terms of stats, and learning new skills that you can equip in the menu. Oh yeah, let's talk about the menu. When you're not in action stage, you're in Gunvolt's apartment, or the menu, like I said earlier. Here you can talk to Joel, which is more for fun and for an extremely important side quest, change your equipment and skills, and shop for new equipment and such. This is also where you can pick which stage you want to go to. It's quick and easy to navigate, plus the music is catchy, so I like this feature. It's certainly a lot more interesting than solely a stage select menu like in the Mega Man games. Plus, Joel is just so freaking adorable, so it's nice to talk to her, giving you motivation throughout the game. Every single level ends with a boss, and boy am I glad they do. The bosses, simply put, are epic. There are your bland giant robot battles, but when you fight the actual characters, which is about 95% of the time mind you, it's a blast. They all have 3 health bars that change their attack patterns every time you destroy one of their health bars. They're all hard but not too crazy to figure out, except for this one, and along with their personalities being shown through the way they fight, and just giving a great challenge overall, the bosses blew me away and are my favorite parts of the game. Yeah, they're that good. They each are different and have been given a lot of thought, and I really can't help but admire that. And that's really it for gameplay. A lot more than I remembered, so it was nice to go back to see just what this game had to offer, as it's been a while since I last played it. But that was the spoiler-free section. For this next part, I'll go deeper into the game talking about the final stages and extras that the game had to offer that may be considered spoilers to those who haven't played it. For those who just want to skip the spoilers and head to the verdict, click on this time skip right now to head there. But for the rest of us, let's talk about that endgame, because I have a bit to say on it. So you've beaten 3 of the final 4 stages in Mega Man fashion. Joel has been kidnapped by Nova, leader of the Sumeragi group. Copen has been defeated after the shocking twist that he was a human the entire time. And now the only thing that stands between you and Joel is Nova. The fight with him is actually really hard, but ridiculously fun and satisfying, making him one of my favorite bosses. He's quick and strong and has a really tough pattern to figure out. Then there's his second phase, which is even harder, and in his last health bar sends a sun towards you, giving you a time limit to finish him off. Jeez! But you've made it this far. You've got this. Once you beat him, you get Joel back and head home. Or so you think. Asimov, the leader of Quill and someone who raised Gunvolt as a kid, reveals that his true motives were to take down Sumeragi to avoid them from interfering with his plans of, you guessed it, world domination. No use calling that a cliche, it's gonna be with villains until the end of time. So, yeah. But that's really his plan in a nutshell. He explains a lot and I kinda spaced out the entire time, as I didn't really care anyways. It's all flavor text to be honest. But then the jaw dropper comes. He shoots Gunvolt and Joel, killing them both. But they're gonna find a way to survive. They always do. This is the end of the game? Yep. Turns out this is the bad ending, which sorta shocked me the first time, as this ending was really dark. To get the good ending, you have to collect jewels scattered throughout all the regular stages, excluding the final 4. Once you've done that, talk to Joel and she'll make a necklace out of jewels, which you'll need to equip on Gunvolt. Beat the final boss again, watch the dark ending once more, only this time the game continues. Joel's add-up, Lumen, transfers Joel's soul to be inside Gunvolt a la a certain other RPG where she brings him back to health, as he barely survived with her necklace guarding the bullet. However, Joel's body is dead, with her soul living on inside a Gunvolt. Filled with anger, heck, I was too, Gunvolt chases after Asimov only to be interrupted by one of the bosses that, strangely enough, wasn't in the boss rush. It's weird, but he's kind of a joke as you're powered up with the now given reincarnated ability. The only thing left to do is to defeat Asimov, and the battle is epic. It's also really hard too, as he can catch you off guard and defeat you. But use your powers to the fullest and you can do it. Once you defeat him, he dies on the ground. Your Quill buddies meet you at the bottom of the elevator, completely unaware of what Asimov did, crying over his death. On a somber note, Gunvolt walks away thinking of what he lost. Lumen tells him that they can be together forever and asks him what he wants to do. And on that note, the game ends. Holy crap, that's freaking dark! Sure, the game was a bit darker than Mega Man norm, but there were its lighthearted moments and fun. But goodness, this was a jaw-dropper for me. Thankfully, they're making a sequel. I'm not against having bad endings by all means, but this was sort of vague and kept a lot of loose knots. Plus, it's like they didn't care for the characters at all. No one really got a happy ending here, and everything just sorta ends. Dang, Inti Creates, you sure love killing off your main characters. Too soon? All in all, it's clear that I had very few negative things to say about this game. The game is 2D platforming awesomeness with difficult but fair challenges, customization, a decent story with great characters, catchy music, and most importantly, fun levels with tight controls. The extras won't have your attention for too long, but for what the game provided in its main story, it was more enjoyable than any of us could have imagined, since we were still in the middle of our mighty number 9 hype. But that game's probably gonna keep getting cancelled to the end of time. It's clear to say that Inti Creates has a lot of talent, which was already a well-known fact through its past games, but they've still got it. With all that being said, I was more than surprised with the outcome, and have no legitimate reason to not call it one of my favorite 2D platformers. It certainly shocked me due to how good it is. Hope this review sparked your interest in the game. here's to Azure Striker Gunvolt 2! Seriously though, that game looks freaking awesome. And that wraps up my first ever review! Awesome! So proud of how this turned out, and it felt great talking about a game that I like a lot more than I ever thought I would. As you can see, no, I ultimately decided against giving scores to the games I review, as it ended up being more trouble than it's worth, and some games gave me a ridiculously hard time to score. They strive in certain areas, so in the end, I'll just see how each part of the game holds up, and you and I can ultimately decide on whether the game is good or not. Hope you understand, I think it's the best choice for this sort of thing. Regardless, if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more reviews, countdowns, discussion videos, and more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and stay awesome!